Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the main predictions. No, not the Premier League, the actual best league in the world, the Championship. Now, as a Burnley fan, I've seen a lot of the Championship and I feel like I've got a pretty good understanding of next season. However, that makes no difference because Championship is, for the most part, quite unpredictable, other than usually the top two spots. So let's get into the rest of it. So you know how predictions goes. I'm going to go from 24th to 1st and I'll give my opinions why. You are probably not going to agree with my opinions, and if I say I think your team will go down, then I'm sorry. And if I think your club will have a pretty poor season, then again, I'm sorry. Comment down below your bottom 3 teams to go down and also your top 6, and let's get straight into it. Like and subscribe, and Mazar designs for the best football prints all made by myself. Use code Vizeh for 15% off all items. Of course, every single club in the Championship is all covered. Now, people may ask as well, why do I not cover League 1, League 2? I don't even have a vague idea to speak about that league in any detail that I can really make any real opinion. Who I think may win League 1, I don't really know. I don't know. Cardiff? Let's just say Cardiff. Into the Championship, so 24th place, you already know who it is. It's Sheffield Wednesday. I've literally done a video about how they are pretty much dying, and it feels like they are dying. They don't know where the hell they're going. Most players have left. They no longer have a manager in Danny Rowe, who just left since that video's been made. They have re-signed Barry Bannon on a new contract, which is massive news for them. But there's so much of that squad that still needs to be built. And in the month they are so far behind so many clubs. I just can't see a world where they stay up. I can't see a world. Like, this is a more sure thing tap in relegation you would ever see. And even Sheffield Wednesday fans can't have a go at me for saying this. So yeah. In 23rd place, I'm going to go Blackburn Rovers. I'm a Burnley fan, so this is literally my job. But I've got some reasons behind this. Now, Blackburn typically are no strangers to outperforming their pre-season expectations. That's literally their job. Now, they almost did get relegated 2 seasons ago. Of course, they had Sammy Smodics, who, despite them literally on the final day scraping to stay up, they literally had the league's top goal scorer. So they've already gone through this situation before and stayed up because they had the best player in the league almost. John Eustace was at Blackburn. He, of course, ditched them for Derby, which I think was a massive problem for them, as they've always got some problems behind the scenes. They've got Valerian Ismail in charge, which I don't particularly rate. He's had pretty poor spells at West Brom and Watford prior to that. Of course, he was decent at Barnsley a couple of years ago, but it's a very different team to what he currently has. I don't really rate the manager. I'd be surprised if he's still there by Christmas. And I don't really rate the players they have. And I'm a Burnley fan. It's my job to do this. So Blackburn's going down. And in 22nd place, because I'm a Burnley fan, I'm going for Preston North End. People may believe I'm doing this just to annoy them, and that is kind of partially true. And also because they probably already don't like me anyway. But here's some more reasons. For many years, Preston North End has been known as, Championship mediocrity, a somewhat like Bristol City the league. And I feel like Preston and Bristol City will be going on to 2 different ways. Preston in recent years have been going down and down and down. Preston ended last year with only 1 win in the last 14 games and were a real threat to maybe even going down at some times. And I think the drop-off was massively alarming, and I don't think there's any reason to say that they can't keep going. They've missed some big players too, especially for goals, creativity. They've lost Kane and Kessler Hayden, their player of the year. They've also lost Emil Rees, who scored 12 goals last campaign, and I think they are on a downward trajectory. Paul Heckingbottom is not a bad manager. I feel like he's decent and he's probably alright for Preston, but if he doesn't get a good start for it, they could end up in even more of a mess managerially. Again, Preston probably won't go down, but I don't know who else to put there, and I kind of want to be different. So here you go. Now, 21st place, I'm putting Oxford United. Now, Oxford United under Gary Rowett is known for getting the absolute best and overperforming from, limited resources in the Championship. And the problem is with Oxford is that under almost every single stat, they've been pretty poor. And XG-wise and expected assists and chances created, and they are just quite low in almost every metric, but they overperform those expectations. Oxford appears just to stick in games and get results, and I think that they've got a decent span of their team, especially with their centre-backs, that they will be able to hold in games. And I rate Gary Rowett as well. So even though they've had a lack of transfer activity up to the stage, I still believe they could bring in 2 or 3 other players by the time it's end of the window that I think can make a difference. Oxford United, I'm going to say they will still stay up. In 20th, I'm going for Charlton Athletic. Now, they've been very much under the radar in comparison to Wrexham and Birmingham City, but I think due to Nathan Jones, I think they'll be appreciating the underdog status this year. Charlton, similar to Oxford, has a pretty decent set-piece record that is massive for this division. And with Charlie Kelman and Matty Godden up top, if they could add a bit of creativity to feed them the opportunities, and I think they'll take them. I can see them having a similar type of season to how Oxford had last year. Most metrics, they may be, one of the worst, but I think that with Nathan Jones at the helm, and surprisingly, I actually don't think he's that bad of a manager, I think they'll pick up results, and I think they'll stay up. Now, 19th place, I'm going for Hull City. Now, a lot of people put Hull to be in the bottom three, and that's because under the new owner, Akun Ikali, it's been quite a mess. The Turkish ownership has led to some high-profile signings that's not really worked out. The recruitment has been kind of all over the place with managerial changes left and right, and I feel like they're a massive red flag. Their new head coach, Sergei Yakirovic, has had a decent record in European leagues, but it may be hard to translate in the Championship. But when looking at a team, they've got a decent defence, and there's creativity there and pace in wide areas. And I feel like on paper, I'm looking at who they have, and I think they have some players that can maybe make an impact. By no means do I think that Hull can't go down. Hull can definitely go down, and if there is someone to blame, maybe Ilakali. But I just feel like everyone keeps saying they'll go down, and you know what? I don't mind being different. So I think they'll struggle, but be 19th. I'm going for QPR, and there's a weird part to QPR that's hard to really judge. They've got quite a young team with many attacking players that can be quite threatening. Porku, Elias Chair, Kelmok and Dembele, and I feel like it's really hard to put them here. My only issue is with Marty Cifuentes, of course, went to Leicester City. He's already quite a decent manager and was already in what I believe was near to the limit of what he could get at a QPR. Now, he's of course gone and they brought in Julian Stefan, and I think he's not actually a bad appointment. The issue is that I don't think there's really much more growth from what Cifuentes were already doing there. So last year, they could be looking excellent, having a great run of form, 28 points from 39 games at one time, and then just partnered with two incredibly poor spells of form. Can I see them going down because of this? No. But can I see them getting much better? Maybe, but this is just my safe bet right now. I'm going for Portsmouth. Now, I think they can make some improvements compared to last year. Their home form is a massive part of their game, and they seem to have a pretty good knack of getting some decent results against top clubs in the league. And I think that'll happen again. John Musinho's done a decent job, and of course tweaked the tactics across the entire year. Their home form alone, I think, would make them stay up, and I think they'll make some improvements, but I don't think it'd be enough. Because financially, I don't think they can really compete against many sides in the division. I'm going for Wrexham. Now, Wrexham, again, will have a lot of hype into this campaign, but a Championship, unless you're Ipswich Town, is a hard level to get used to. And as they were literally in League 2 and National League only 3 years ago, I think it's a big ask to expect them to be in mid-table or top 6 for me, in my opinion. How Wrexham sets up and their strength of set pieces will be positive for them this year. And they have brought in some players that I think is decent. Of course, Josh Windass, you got Lewis O'Brien, and even looking at bringing in Nathan Broadhead as well. And Connor Cody just coming in as well. And may I say, you would even look at their manager, that even though, of course, he's put back-to-back promotions, can he do it in the Championship? And that's another question. I can't see Wrexham going down, but I don't think he'll be as easy for them as what people may believe. In 15th place, I'm going for what I think is a sure thing, and that's Stoke City. Stoke City are just... they're 15th. They're 15th or 17th. This is where they belong now. Now, a big part of me wants to put them higher up because I really do like Mark Robbins. I think he does a good job, but I just think Stoke City as a club is just mostly cursed. I don't see much particularly changing it. I don't think they'll go down, but I don't think they'll do much else. Now, I'm going to do something here which I feel like may surprise some people, but I don't think it should. I'm putting in West Bromwich Albion in 14th place here. Now, Ryan Mason is currently the head coach. I have absolutely no idea what he's going to do there, and he's a complete unknown. For all we know, he may be okay, or he may be completely, a failure. He's a complete rookie going straight into the Championship of a club which is kind of all over the place. Of course, there was Carlos Corberán that did a pretty good job there, but he could just never get it over the line to get into the top 6. Their squad, from what I can see, is a relatively stable group on paper, but I just feel like it's just inconsistent. Like, I like the signing of Nat Phillips. I think he's pretty good. The one thing is they actually have got some strikers that could make an impact. Of course, Josh Meyer, and of course there's Dow DK that is always injured. There's also brought in Anne Hegerball from Bran from Norway, so I think he could maybe add some more to it. I think Ryan Mason may struggle, and I think at times he'll be inconsistent and be finding his feet in the league. I'm going for Swansea City, who there has been a feeling of hopefulness with Swansea City. I believe that they've got this new ownership. You've got Modric there and Snoop Dogg, and there's some weird things going on there. But in the market, I think they've done a pretty good job. They've got Camus Burgess, which I think is a very good signing for them. Ethan Galbraith as well from Norwich, I think is a good piece of business. Of course, they ended last year really well, and that can make people think they should be even higher up, but I just don't know. I don't trust them. Really, I just don't trust them. Like, I think even last year they finished 11th place. That was from their incredible form. And I think 14th, 13th is probably where they belong. I'm going for Derby County. I think they'll make some steps forward this campaign. And I really do rate John Eustace as a manager, personally. If you combine the point salaries of what he did at Blackburn and what he did at Derby, then that'll be enough for a top 6 finish. Of course, brought in some consistent signings, like Danny Barth and Andy Vyman, of course, from Blackburn. But the main signing of Patrick Adimang from Charlotte is an interesting piece of business. That's £6 million, which is quite a lot for Derby County, but it's for number 9. So sorry for doing this to you guys. I'm going to go for Bristol City. Can they get back-to-back top 6s? I don't think they could. Losing 6-0 to Sheffield United on aggregate, I think, is a rather damning suggestion of how far the gap is to the typical top pack. Liam Manning, of course, left for Norwich, and that's a massive setback for them. Brought in a new manager, Gerard Stuber from New York Red Bulls, and they've got some decent players there. Emil Rees has replaced Naki Wells at the club. I am being favourable here. I think there's a chance it could go even lower than 10th place. The new manager and potentially a new system with the players they have could be a problem and could take some adapting. I think with everything that's happened, would be not a bad season for them, in my opinion. And Carlton Morris coming in from Luton is also a nice piece of business. Now, this may be another shock to the system, but I'm going to go for Middlesbrough. Of course, Michael Carrick has left and has been replaced by Rob Edwards, that on CV has got good championship pedigree, of course, which I don't think is a particularly good fit right now for what Middlesbrough have. On paper, he plays a 5-back system with 3 centre-halves and wing-backs, and right now that's an area that they just don't have. They have a squad that is light on central defenders and natural wing-backs as well. And the end-of-season form for Middlesbrough really concerned me. From January, of course, Ben Doak's injury and the sale of Latte Laugh just meant that they just didn't have much more going forward. Yes, they've got the likes of Finn Azaz and Morgan Whittaker. That Whittaker, for me, has been a real shame in terms of how he's done there. I mean, I thought to do a lot better, but he just not got really the pace and the power to really go at teams. And looking on paper, Hayden Hackney could be going, also Vandenberg. If they leave, I can see them even slipping further down the table. So I'm going to go for Watford. Watford is quite an exciting team on paper. They got some players there that are relatively unknowns, that are just raw in ability, but trying to piece it all together is a massive task. Their ownership is, as always, a complete and utter mess. You got the new manager now in Paulo Pesolano, who's got a decent track record, winning the Brazilian Serie B title of Cruzeiro and taking Real Valladolid back to La Liga. He's got a decent record. However, his failure to remain at any of his past 5 clubs for longer than 2 seasons is probably a red flag and probably suits Watford. Already they've got quite a lot of good players. They've got Georgie Shak Vedazze and Quadro Bar, that are some pretty exciting players. Players they brought in, of course, Nestori Irankunda from Bayern Munich is a very interesting piece of business and could be a player which could be way too good for the level. He could be a player that's way too good and could be very good for Watford this year. But there's so many unknowns with Watford. 6'6", Luca Kerumgaard up top could be, a good person to whip balls to the box maybe. Defensively, I can maybe see some problems. I think attacking-wise, they could probably score their way out of some issues. They'd be an exciting team. Okay, so in 8th place, I've got Norwich City. Now, last year, their defence was absolutely shambolic, and Borja Sainz has already left the club, and Josh Sargent, this is basically completely on the fact that I believe he may stay at Norwich somehow. The last time we heard was that he may be going to Wolfsburg for €21 million, but that was like 2-3 weeks ago. He's still there, played every single friendly. I think he may stay, and if he stays, I think that's a massive help to them. Liam Manning coming in as well, so they had a pretty poor time last year, and their defence can't get any worse. I think they got some decent players there that can make an impact, but they are still very inconsistent, so this is possibly higher than where I really would put them. They brought in some players last summer, which, are slow burners. They've not really played all too much, but they could be a bigger impact this campaign. Signing a Bromby forward, Kavisgarden as well, could also be a nice bit to their attack. They've got some talent there, some young talent there that I think can have their moments of magic across the campaign. But I still think they'll be inconsistent at times. And again, this is reliant heavily on if Sargent still stays. So 8th is possibly favourable to them. They could still be 12th or so. But I'm going to have hope. Now here comes 7th place, just missing out on playoffs. And I'm going to go against the grain here because I'm seeing people put this team second place and third place, and I just don't think so. And I'm going to go against the hype here. And I did this for when Ipswich Town also went up, and of course they still got promoted, so maybe it's a good jinx. I'm putting Birmingham City 7th place, and I don't think they'll be in top 6. Now, I know what I said with Wrexham, going from League 2, League 1 to the Championship, it's a different kettle of fish, and I still believe that. They are, of course, on an upper trajectory, just like Wrexham. I believe they brought in some very good players, just like Wrexham. But there's just this thing with Birmingham that I think they have something a bit more. And I think that could take them a long way. But I still don't think they can get into top 6. They could. They could, absolutely. But I just feel like, if they ended up 12th or 11th, I wouldn't be surprised either. So I think I'm still being favourable putting them 7th. Also, Samuel is a smart signing for them in the backline. Tommy Doyle being the main signing that's caught a lot of eyes. He's a fantastic signing for them, absolutely. And in terms of their physicality, especially up top, I feel like they may be limited at times with their current front line with Kyogo Furuhashi and Jay Stansfield. No one can say that a big club with a troubled past that's on the uprise can make a big impact and can move mountains. Of course, that's possible, but I just think it's a big ask. Now, in 6th place, I'm so hyped to put this team in here because I feel like it took so long. I think they may actually do it, and that is Millwall. I'm putting Millwall in the playoffs. It's been 4 years, in the making now that they've just been outside of it, and I think this time they can do it. The transfer recruitment in recent years has been really fantastic for, of course, the likes of Mihailo Ivanovic, which could potentially be a golden boot winner for this campaign. That's a great start. The re-signing of Tanganga as well is also a fantastic piece of business for them to keep him on full time. Alex Neil, I still think, is a great coach, so I respect him, that I think he could get the job done. The signing of Alfie Doughty, I think, is also a great signing for them, especially for what they want, adding much more variety to their attacking play and creativity. Massimo Luongo, I think, is also great introductions to the midfield. Finally, I think they'll be in top 6. They could even go further, maybe be 4th or so, but I'm going to put them 6th for a safe bet, and they'll be absolutely happy with that. Now, 5th place here, it will be Leicester City. It's a tough one because if they didn't have this FFP issues and the sanctions that can be put over their head, a 9-point deduction appears likely at this stage, and maybe even a further penalty. We don't really know what to put them. On paper, their team is more than good enough to go and win the league. Fatawi's still there, Mavavidi's still there, midfielder potentially, Harry Winks and Oliver Skip, Jordan Ayew's there for some experience, and so Coley at the back is will be fantastic. Of course, they've not got a pure number 9 still. They've got like Patson Daka and Jordan Ayew that could be fine, but if they bring in a number 9, that'd be great. There are some question marks on some players that may be leaving, like El Canus. Would he still be there? Possibly not. Bibakari Sommer, would he be there? I'm not too sure. Marty Cifuentes, I think, is a good appointment by them. If they didn't have the looming FFP, I would put them to win the league. But because we don't know exactly how many points they'll be behind, I think playoffs is a safe bet. They could still be 3rd or 4th. We don't know. I'm going to put them 5th. 4th place, I'm going for Coventry City. I really like the work that Frank Lampard has done there. And when they removed Mark Robbins, it looks like it will be a step in the wrong direction. But Lampard has done a good job, and I think that he can improve on that. They've had improvement to set pieces, and many players in the team can still get better. And the makeup of the squad is in good shape. Kane Kessler-Hayden, which had a great season last year at Preston, is just joined them, so that'd be a nice little introduction. They've already got some pretty good players there. Of course, Jack Ruduni being their main player from the end of last season, but they've still got Haji Wright and Mason Clark that can just stretch the pitch out, with Sakamoto being very effective last campaign. Coventry are in momentum. I can't see any reason why they'll be stopping, and I think they can keep this form going. So 4th place. Now 3rd place here, straight after that, we've got 3 teams that can go up. We've got Sheffield United, we've got Ipswich Town, and of course we've got Southampton. My team that I think will miss out on the top 2 will be Southampton. Now, I'll go into Sheffield United later on, but here's why I think Southampton, may just miss out. Will Still is still somewhat of a hipster manager, knowing him mostly from the memes online, from his job over in France than anything else. Southampton as a club right now is still quite scarred from what was a completely disastrous campaign last season. But as Sheffield United showed last year, just because you had an awful campaign in the Premier League, that can easily be turned around in Championship if you still got some pretty good players there. The issue is, I think, players that they have, They've still kept some, but I think some could be going. Of course, they're likely to lose Dibbling, that Everton are really sniffing around him. Mateus Fernandes, of course, could also be going. That'd be a massive loss for them too. They got attacking players that you can imagine get double digits quite easily. You can see like Adam Armstrong, again, double digits. Cameron Archer, again, can get double digits in the Championship. You can see that doing well. Shay Charles returning as a decent midfielder in the middle, and he had a decent loan at Sheffield Wednesday. Ronnie Edwards as well had a decent loan at QPR, and you can see him maybe growing into his own this campaign. But if Fernandes leaves, if Dibbling leaves, I think that could be a massive loss for them, and I think that could be enough to see them miss out on the top two. I'm just going with my gut here, and that is that I'm putting in second place Sheffield United. Now, I feel like because of the fact they didn't make it up last campaign, people may put them even lower down, but I still think on paper the squad is still a very good squad. If they keep the likes of Gus Hamer there, I think that's key for the puzzle. I think their squad is just as good as it was last time round. Up top, they've got Tyrese Campbell, Thomas Cannon, which I think can still offer more. Kiefer Moore's the option. Louis Barry, brand new signing for them. Arblaster, Peck, Davis is a solid midfield. Of course, they've got Heyman, even Callum O'Hare. I think they've still got a pretty good team. And Cooper's still there as well. And the team is still a very good team. Ruben Sells, I still think is a good manager, and I think he can prove that this campaign. And yes, they didn't make it up last year, but they were far ahead in the same level of Burnley and Leeds, far ahead than any other team in the league last campaign. Again, they beat Bristol City 6-0 in aggregate. So I think people are overlooking that. So if they keep the likes of Gus Hamer, it looks like they are. There's been no link with him, at all, but there is still time left in the window where this can all change. I'm putting them in second place. I think they could still get promoted this campaign in the top two. Leading to first place, Ipswich Town. This should be no surprise at all. I'll just show you their last 11 in the last friendly. Against French team Auxerre, they beat them 3-0, and their squad was this. Got Palmer in goal with Townsend, Greaves, O'Shea and Johnson. Midfielder Taylor and Matushiwa. Jack Clark, Sammy Schmodix, Philogene and George Hurst up top. And on the bench, they've got Ashley Young, Nathan Broden, Wolfenden, Ogbene, Connor Chaplin. They've still got a very, very good team with many players there that have already proved themselves in the Championship. Hutchinson is still there, by the way. He's not left, but you wouldn't be surprised if he does leave. Wes Burns obviously still at the club. Leif Davis still at the club as well. They've got a lot of players there that have already proved themselves to be top quality Championship players. I think they're about as sure thing as you can get for promotion to the Premier League again. In my opinion, they also have the best manager in the league in Kieran McKenna. I just see a world where they just make it look easy and walk the Championship. Comment down below your thoughts, put down your bottom three and your top six. And again, it's my opinion, and I can very easily change my mind on this prediction in a week. So, don't take this as gospel here. So comment down below your thoughts, and yeah, this prediction will be definitely wrong, but it's all for the love of the game, right? So, see you guys next time. See ya.